Professor Melly Mill, Hood Postman. Man, Van Ness boys, you actually knew Swig, right?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, Darnish Young, yeah.
What was your relationship to him?
Well, Swig, he was older than me. Just like, I said about Tootie. They were older than me. Was young and older than me and my homeboys. We grew up in that neighborhood. Swig, he was a good dude. He was more like a leader of the Van Ness gang. And by me being young, we were attracted to that because we were at Van Ness Park and that's where we played ball or we went swimming or something like that. But Swig,
What year we talking, Mike?
I would say in probably 70. Because when I started going to Crenshaw, right before I started going to Crenshaw, because we were still juveniles and we were getting in a lot of mischief. Yeah, and Swig, he's around, he was doing what he do, Yeah.
What kind of person was Swig, would you say?
I would say Swig was for a lot of people, he was a leader. He was a leader. And the crazy thing was, Swig, they called him Swig because he had one leg.
Really?
Yeah, from here, the leg was cut off. Well, if you didn't know him, you really wouldn't know, But he had a wooden leg from the knee down, and
that's interesting because I never knew that. All I knew that he was a Van Ness boy.
Right.
So what at that point, right? You know Swig. Was there anybody else in your group or core of guys that you hung out with during that time?
Oh yeah, Donna Ray Williams, may he rest in peace. A lot of them are just they got killed or they gone or they in prison for the rest of their life. You had Jourdain Miller. He's in prison. It's a booby. Man, it's just a lot of brothers. Many of them that's away. But Jourdain Miller, he was one of the main characters that played. You
wrote about him in your book.
I got him in my book, man. I try to put some brothers in there and under a bright, shiny light. And try to keep it as possible. Positive,
So they was Van Ness boys. At what point did they adopt the Brim or sort of like formed a marriage between Van Ness and Brim?
Got you, yeah, okay. At some point you had Swig, then you had like Terry Cadeau and people like that was Brims. Swig
was Winston around at that time too?
Winston Weaver, good dude, man. Winston good. I think he tried to hit me up on Facebook or something, Winston. But when the Brims came into the effect with the Van Ness gang, just say the Van Ness gang, they were always around because they went too far in the neighborhood. They went to Manuards. So they weren't one of our enemies. So, we were cool with them. The biggest enemy was the West Side Crips. It was, Tootie and them, and other people like that. But when they came into effect with the Van Ness, is that one day Swig called a meeting and he said that he wanted to talk to everybody because the Brims wanted to join the Van Ness gang, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So we meet up at the park. Swig's talking, and they had already mentioned about how, I heard about they changed the name. The name was going to be Van Brims, to give the Brims some respect. And at the time, I felt like, that was a sign of weakness. Not putting any weakness on the Brims. I'm just saying that as far as I was concerned, letting them join us was a sign of weakness on our part, because the Crips would have been looking like, man, them dudes, y'all joining together, this and that, even though it was probably about 500 Crips, and it was only probably about, I might be exaggerating, 80 Van Ness gang, And at that time, I felt, we had the meeting and all that, and I told Swig, man, check this out. You can do what you want to do, but me and my homeboys, we ain't down with this. You know what I'm saying? So, we left on a good note, having respect and love for each other, but I just didn't feel like we needed somebody joining us, and that was a sign of weakness. So I took 5 of my homeboys, and we went from there, you know?
So when you say you took 5 of your homeboys, what was your next step? What did you have planned for those 5? Because there had to be, in order to take something, you got to be willing to give something.
Right. Okay. So this was always my plan that's coming up. For me, money meant more than, I would say, gang activity. You know, getting at another brother because he chose a different side or he grew up on a different side. I really didn't see a whole lot of sense in that. And I'm talking about paper when I'm talking about that. So, you know, my plan is to actually stop gangbanging and then get into the street life, getting in the hustling life and getting money. And that's what we did, you know? That's what me and my crew did.
Right. So before you left, did you happen to know Big Country, Little Country, and all those guys?
Yeah.
Elton, Tamel?
That name sounds familiar, but Big Country, Little Country, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They was part of Pete Kelly.
Good brothers.
Terry Cadeau, Winston Reaver. Okay, yeah. So, when you would see your guys out there, how would that reaction be? You know what I mean? Because now you done moved on, and now you trying to play a different hand.
Right.
When they saw you in the street,
Right.
Did they look at you any different or?
Well, because we used to go to this barbershop called Betty's Barbershop on, it was Van Ness in 54. So I continued to want to go down there. You know, we had got into a different life. So, you know, we jumping in Rolls Royces. We rolling from the apartments on Crenshaw and 63rd down to the barbershop, you know. And some of my homeboys, you know, I grew up with, they actually didn't like that, you know. Some of them would say stupid stuff and this and that, but I never took kind to bulliness. I never was a bully, and I didn't let nobody bully me. So a lot of them, you know, felt like we turned our back on them, but we didn't, because the game I was in, you know, I said, I can't help y'all with nothing else, but what I'm doing, y'all want to get some real money, you can get down with me, you know.
So when they saw you pulling up in these Rolls Royces, and was they even inquisitive, or did they want to know, wow, you know, my homie Mike, I know Michael Jourdain, man, and I'm looking at what he's doing, but I don't know what he's doing or how he gather all these riches and these different things that reflect somebody that has money or that's in the game heavily. So did they even try to have a conversation with you in regards to it?
Yeah, we had conversations, but, you know, growing up in the hood, I mean, you know, just right around there, you know, they recognize Rolls Royces. They know, you know, who I was involved in because, you know, later on in life, you know, me and Tootie, Reese's daughter, ended up getting married. But they know those was Tootie's Rolls Royces and
wait a minute,
all those cars.
You mean to tell me you married Thomas Reese, daughter, a.k.a. Tootie?
Yeah.
Man, we're going to talk about that too.
Because
we got to get into that, Mike. Because that's there. That's the L.A. royalty, would you say?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Him and Raymond Wright.
Yeah.
The real Suge.
Suge, the real Suge.
What about Rolls Royce Shorty?
Oh, yeah, Rolls Royce Shorty, yeah. Rolls Royce Shorty's still around. He's good people too. Yeah, he's still around. Mm-hmm.
So now, when you came back, and then the guys that you used to run with prior from that other life, did any of them like, wait a minute, Mike, I'm putting this aside, I'm going with you? Did anyone like change their mind even though they didn't initially go?
Yeah, well, you know, it was a few of them that did that. That came up out of my hood. Then there was a lot of other brothers that I came up in the 60 hood that was like, Mike, check this out, man. We want to get some money. And I was like, let's get it. You know, so I put them down. So everybody was getting money. I mean, you know, at one point I told Tootie he could have got down with me, but he kind of laughed it off because he's like, Mike, you little youngster, he be, you know, he a little crazy, but no, I wasn't crazy.
Did you think pride had to do anything with Tootie not wanting to go over there and just at least look at what you was telling him?
Yeah, you know what? I think that probably would have played a big role because the reality is, I mean, it wasn't like it was a secret because people saw it. You know, they saw it. They saw the money being made. They saw the way we was living. So they saw it. I mean, we didn't have to go flashing it. We just was being us. And if you saw us, you know, we were doing that, you know. We were getting real money. So, yeah, I think in that way, you know, and then some people was looking at it like, man, you know, Mike and them is Van Ness boys, you know, and some took it to heart that they was, you know, from a different side. But I never tripped on that, you know, like that. That was nonsense to me.
So and also at that point now you got, well, of course you met Tootie's girl, right?
Right.
I mean, daughter.
Right.
My apologies.
Right.
So what type of women started coming around? Because there's a difference between the women that hang out with the gang members and the difference between women that hang out with the gang.
Hey,
you know what I mean? There's a difference now.
Man,
so let's talk about those females.
Man, the females in that circle and circle I was in then, man, they were so fine. I mean, they was like supermodels. You know, they was the baddest women, you know, some on the planet, man.
Any of them notable that we could speak out, like a Shaka Khan or I mean, because the game attracted a lot of different women.
Yeah. They had one that was, she's very beautiful.
Natalie Cole and all those type of.
Yeah, it was one named Linda. You know, she was with Raymond Wright. Sure. And her and Natalie could have been sisters. She had them beautiful eyes, but I believe Linda was more attractive than Natalie. I mean, she just had that swag about her and that look, man. And she, you know, she was Creole, and man, she was fine, man. Yeah.
So did the game also deliver that access to the celebrities? Because at that time you had that good.
Right. Oh, without a doubt. Because
so is anybody notable that we talk about in the book or something?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people I haven't talked about in the book, but you know, let's say let's talk about Richard Pryor, may he rest in peace. I mean, people like that, you know, because it was people. Cocaine was a rich man's high. It wasn't crack. It was a rich man's high. It was powder, and the only people that could afford it was rich people. And you would believe it, there was more rich white people using cocaine than you ever could think of black people using it, you know, because black people really couldn't afford it. So those kind of people was our I would say friends and customers, you know.
So when you started, what was it like to even know Richard in that sense?
Well, Richard, he was, at the time, like I said, I was young. Richard, he was a funny guy. He was a funny guy, but he allowed, I would say, cocaine to take over his life. You know, and at some point, they started doing what was called freebase. You know, and it came from like up north. And they was doing freebase. And when they did that freebase, that was like they let the fox in the hen house. Or they unleashed the devil, you know, on the hood. And that's when they came out with that crack cocaine. And so Richard got caught up into that. But other than that, you know, we were able to, you know, reap the benefits of knowing entertainers and getting in places where just anybody couldn't be, you know, based on them.
Once again, Mike, I think we at a crossroad where again, there's a word that's attached to our community that we didn't give ourselves. That word in itself came from conservative or liberal media, because we never called it, but somehow we picked it up and started saying it, but it was never, it didn't come from us. You know, I think it was their ignorance to understand what it was, because I don't think that just because you add baking soda to something that it turns it into something different than what it really was. Understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So all you did was put water and baking soda together and gather it.
Right.
But it was still, now you just was able to use it in a smoking form instead of versus a snorting or intravenous. Right. So I don't think in ourselves that we would have called it that. So now again, we picking up something and we we kind of running with it, which,
Right.
you know, I know that's another story. I don't want to get
Right, a whole
into.
different story.
Don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. That's
But
all
anyway,
different.
so Tootie Reese, right?
Right.
We're gonna talk about Tootie Reese, man. But
Okay.
let's lock the door right here, man.
You
Lock
really
it.
got to lock the door, man. Lock it quick.